Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront updates and some more Star Wars Battlefront 2 news. We've got a bit of mix of news today, and some of it I'm a bit late to the ball on, so apologies for that, because we both of course have the patch that released earlier this week, a bunch of comments about the Droideka, some nerfs and buffs incoming, and of course the big update that is coming later this month. The patch notes dropped just as I was embarking from LA back from EA Play, so that's why I wasn't able to make a video right away, but I figured in case you missed the release notes I would go through them here anyways, at least the important parts, as I know not all of you reads on the forums and similarly. But well, starting off, I just wanted to say that it really does feel like Battlefront 2 has a very bright future based off the recent community transmission, since it obviously revealed a very nice update coming now in June, as well as of course Fallujah and the PvE mode that seems to be coming later this year and will be talked more about in August. And just having the chance to talk to the developers over in LA over the last couple of days really gave me a lot of hope for this game, so I'm excited for the future, and it's going to be interesting to see how the update in June pans out, as well as Fallujah and the PvE mode. But if we then get into some news, let's start off with the actual patch that came earlier this week. Most of you probably know, so I'm going to keep it fairly short, but the main thing is that they nerfed Anakin Skywalker pretty heavily actually, because they cut the retribution ability's choke duration to half, from 4 seconds to 2 seconds, and the retribution will no longer charge up based on damage received during Heroic Might, where you usually receive most of that damage. And Heroic Might no longer deals increased damage as Anakin takes damage. The ability's radius still increases as Anakin takes damage, so it kind of feels like it's not really worth charging it up anymore. I've got a feeling you might as well just tap it like you do with Luke's Repulse. And they've increased the base damage of Heroic Might from 70 to 90 against heroes, and reduce the base damage from 130 to 120 against troopers, which means that you can no longer one-shot even base troopers with Heroic Might. And I think that might be a little bit too harsh of a nerf, to be honest, but I'm not gonna complain. Anakin has been a pain for way too long now, so I'd rather have him a little bit too weak and then potentially buff him up. The main problem was 100% retribution, and that seems to have been fixed now by the fact that it's cut the duration in half. However, I'm not sure if removing the extra damage from Heroic Might was a good idea, because I still thought that was a pretty fun thing where, well, if you manage to position yourself well, you might actually charge up your ability to do more damage. So up to like 200 at least I think would have been decent, but oh well, we'll see how it plays out. Some of you might already have had a chance to play him, so I'm curious what you guys think about Anakin after the recent patch. And then Darth Maul has had a quite big change, as he will now throw his lightsaber horizontally instead of vertically. But that means that they also cut the damage in half, from 150 to 75. So this means that you can one-shot normal troopers if your Furious Throw hits both on the way away and back to you, as obviously 75 times 2 is enough to kill them. You can see that in the gameplay I've got in the background here in arcade, that it is pretty accurate right now. So I'm a little bit torn on what I think about this. I think I personally would have preferred if they just fixed the hitbox of the vertical throw to make it a little bit more unique, but overall it seems like this has been a good change, as it's now more accurate and actually hits the enemies, and therefore even though it only deals 75 damage, if you hit them on the way back, that's still a kill. So maybe not as strong as Vader's saber-throw, which I still think is the strongest one, but will hopefully be pretty good anyways. And then they decreased the minimum number of players required to start some of the modes. And as for some other improvements, a very good one for heroes versus villains, where you will now not always show up on the map, but you will kind of flash a bit like you do in Hero Showdown, which means that you can hopefully pull off some nice flanks now. I would personally have liked if you didn't show up on the radar at all, unless you were swinging your lightsaber or shooting, but I think this is still a pretty nice middle ground where you can still flank to some degree. And they've also changed so that all heroes cost the same battle points no matter which map you're on, which I think is quite strange. As far as I understand, it's 4,000 now for all heroes on all maps. I honestly don't know why they did this, but I'm not sure if I like it or dislike it at this point, to be honest. And then there's a bunch of more fixes, such as Aiden's droid battery star card, Han Solo's jump not working properly, crosshair for the DC-15 LE, animation for the 91st, roofs on Camino, brightness on command post projections, and some visual issues to the LAAT pilots. So that was all that arrived in the patch earlier this week. I thought the Anakin and Maul changes were obviously the most important ones. But if we then continue, the next thing they have rolled out, which is actually happening right now, is the bugged XP that happened when they added the prestige levels. So some of you might have received hundreds of extra levels when they rolled out that patch. So for instance, if you had level 70 specialist, you might have gotten a level 700 specialist, and that will now be rolled back over the coming days. I think it started today and will be happening for a couple of days, so it's not going to happen all at once. But basically, if you were level 70 and then you get bumped up to 700 when that patch came out, and then you leveled from 700 to 707, for instance, it will not reset you back to 70, but it will reset you back to 77. So any XP you have gained since that patch is not lost, only that extra XP. So which means in a couple of days, if you do see someone who is actually level 500 or something like that, that means it's legit. They have not glitched up to that level, but they have just been playing way too much Battlefront 2. So that's the kind of feeling I want to have whenever I see someone with a high level. At least you'll know that it won't be a glitched level anymore. And then we get on to some comments regarding the Droideka from Jay, one of the community managers on Battlefront 2. First question he answered was, will the Droideka be ragdolled from push, pull, etc. or retribution in Battlefront 2? And no, it's a very tanky unit, so it'll get staggered and damaged from abilities like that, but it will be able to hold its ground. Think carefully before you face one down. So it seems like this will be a proper counter for lightsaber heroes, as you obviously won't be able to push them away and so on. I'm not sure how a ragdoll Droideka would look, to be honest, but I think this does probably make sense. As if we move on to another question, he did confirm that lightsabers will be able to go through the shields, as they found them to be too strong otherwise. Which means that even though you can't push and pull them away, you can still hit them through the shield, which other characters obviously can't do. So it's kind of like Droideka have something to counter the lightsaber wielders, and the lightsaber wielders have something to counter the Droideka with. So I think that might go down pretty well. I think it also would have been very strange if you kind of tried to hit a shielded Droideka with a lightsaber and you staggered off it the same way the block worked before. So I don't know. I think it was probably a good choice to be able to hit through, especially since we're used to that with the specialist shield, as you can hit through that with a lightsaber as well. Jay did also say that iron weaponry is very effective against their shields. He highly recommends it. So maybe the iron weapons will now get some proper use, and the iron grenade I could actually consider using. As of right now, the iron grenade is pretty good, but I feel like the thermal detonator is more useful. However, now that you are playing on the clone side and there's without a doubt going to be a lot of droidekas in the enemy team, I think the iron grenade might actually be a good choice, as you might be able to wipe out multiple shields if there's a bunch of droidekas clumped up together. So I think I'm probably going to rock some iron grenades once this patch is out. Also, Jay confirmed that the ATTE health will be lowered on Geonosis, as it seems like right now the droids do kind of struggle to take them down and the clones win pretty much every time. I can't remember the last time I won as a droid on Geonosis, except for if you stop them during the first phase, of course. So I think it's probably good that that's going to be tweaked. It's something they can do server-side, which means that we won't have to wait that long for it to be applied. And I'm sure once they actually tweak that, we will have some actual numbers that they will tweet out. But I think that is all the news I have for you today. For those of you who have already checked out the patch, feel free to leave some comments below letting us know what you think about the Anakin Nerf as well as Darth Maul's new saber-throw, as I haven't been able to check it out myself except for the arcade footage you saw briefly here. But now that I've got most of the videos out of the way and I'm back in Sweden, you can expect more live streams to start up soon, and of course news coverage as always. I've also got a Galaxy's Edge video coming up where I want to, well, give you my thoughts on a Galaxy's Edge, and also some stream highlights soon, so look forward to that. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.